90% of them don't want to be there, and they don't know how to leave.
Yeah.
They're stuck. And so to give them a safe haven where they can come to and put their feet up and let their guard down and exhale for the first time ever and trust us and just help them see what they're good at. What are your dreams? Because they're worthy of their dreams. They're worthy of a fantastic life, a life outside of where they're at. And they want that, but they have no idea how to get there.
This podcast explores stories of people who invest their lives to serve others. The topics and interviews in this show are intended to inspire all of us to live our best story so others can fully discover the kingdom effect. Hey guys, welcome to the Kingdom Effect podcast. This is Kevin Beasley and I'm with my big buddy, Glenn Buckshot Buckley. What's up, Buckley?
Man, nothing but the rent.
Nothing but the rent. Rumor has it you did a little bit of work today.
Just a little, not much. I didn't want to overexert myself.
Yeah,
so
I'm sure 3 hours would have just overdone it for you, right?
Yeah.
Did you fly the drone today?
I did not. I did get to fly it earlier this week and actually had to request permission from the FAA because I was in controlled airspace.
You know, if you pass your exam and get your license, that probably wouldn't be as big of a deal.
The only reason I need to take the test and get my license is so I can make money with it. I can't do that yet.
Well, cool. Well, guys, I am super excited. We have probably talked about our guest tonight. I was thinking back earlier, and we've had 9 episodes, and I think we've at least talked about Tami for 5 out of those 9. At least 1 or 2 sentences. So
at least once a week.
Yeah, at least. So we're super excited to have Tami Majtan on with us today, who didn't actually start a ministry, but she launched a new city of a national ministry called Scarlet Hope. And you guys are going to love listening to her story. She's one of my favorite people in the nonprofit world to talk to. Tami, right up front, and I owe you an apology because a couple of times I said something horrible about you, and I said that you're kind of the quintessential soccer mom.
Yes.
And the first time you heard me say that, you thought, what?
Yeah, I can roll my eyes at that one. No, I think what? Soccer mom, that's what? Prissy and rich and minivan and all the stuff. And I feel like that is so not me. But thanks, I guess. I don't know.
I don't know. When I hear soccer mom, I do think minivan. Like that's the first thing that comes to mind. Yeah. And then I just think of a poor mom who is just pulling her hair out from having to go from soccer practice to cook dinner to doing homework. It's just, that's what I think when I hear soccer mom.
Oh, you take it the total opposite.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about what you do and what your ministry is and how you got started.
So Scarlet Hope, our mission is to share the hope and love of Christ with women working in the adult entertainment industry. So Scarlet Hope as a whole, there's 6 different cities. I was the 5th one to launch, and actually there's 7 now. Just last week we launched Denver. So it started in Louisville, Kentucky, and I might get it out of order, but it's Louisville and Reno and Vegas and Greater Cincinnati and here in Nashville, and then Miami, and then we just launched Denver. Wow. So we're all under one network, but we're all individual. We're all on our own. So we all have our own 501c3. We're all like responsible for all of our own everything. So it's one of those where, okay, yay, I love these women and I want to just be a part of their life and share Christ with them. And then I felt like a little bird jumping out of the nest. Like I'm supposed to know how to do all of it. So it's been an amazing 2 years now since we launched in Nashville, and it's what I want to do. Like these women are my family. They're my girls. They're like, I don't want anybody to talk smack about entertainers at all because I take it personally. So it's been amazing how God has pulled me into this because I grew up in a bubble. the Christian school, the Christian college, got the Christian Character Award in high school, which was ridiculous. And then barely even knowing how intimacy worked when you got married, so knew nothing. And then having God call me into loving these women who, most of them have been abused, traumatized, raped, all that stuff. And walking into their world and walking alongside of them, I thought, who am I? How in the world? Why is God calling me to love them? And it has been quite the journey of God opening my eyes and showing me why he called me. And I started in Reno, Nevada, and then we launched here. So I've kind of been in this world for almost five years now.
Wow. Yeah, I was kind of the same way with doing the trafficking stuff. I started to get offended by the word prostitute. I guess just being a guy, I started seeing them in the daughters almost. That was kind of the heart that I had for them. Doing that. So I know exactly what you mean.
We're seeing them as people.
Yeah.
Right. Instead of this thing or this title. Mm-hmm. And that changes the whole ball game.
Yeah,
when you're with
absolutely. Them. So are you guys planning on going to Memphis? Did you not talk about that? Maybe? Okay.
I didn't see anything about that. No, I will go where the Lord wants us to go. Mm-hmm. I mean, Nashville, I think that would have to be its own city to launch there. Right now, we're sticking to the 3 clubs in Nashville, and then there's 2 it's right outside the Pulaski area. I forget what that little town's called, but there's 2 trucker stop clubs down there. And so we want to eventually reach the women there. And that's about in a night, the distance that my team can drive to.
Yeah.
So Nashville's a half hour from where I live, and then Pulaski area is about a half hour south from where I live. So that's kind of our stretch. So if we were to do that, we'd need other teams that live in those areas to be able to go out. So that would be fantastic. We want to be everywhere.
How many people do you have right now?
Right now, there's myself and 3 other people. So I have my intern and then 2 others that the Lord has brought me, and it's an amazing team. We work together so well, and all the different gifts and strengths, it's amazing. I could not have asked for a better team of women to go together and serve. And it's just been fantastic to watch who God has brought me in the most dire need. Okay, I need somebody. I can't go by myself. We never go anywhere by ourselves. And then having God bring at his perfect timing people in has been amazing.
I remember when I first met you and was thinking about the dynamics and the logistics of how you work, and you have a team going in. You usually do it about 1 night a week. What does a typical night look like? Walk us through beginning to end.
So we go out on Thursday nights, and we typically meet up around 9:00, and we go out in 2s. Right now, there's just 2 of us that go out. When we get more volunteers, then 2 will go to each club. But right now, we're allowed into 1. So 2 of us go into 1 club. But we meet up ahead of time, and we pray, and we get our highs and lows, and we get all of our baggage out, because we don't want to take any baggage in with us. We want to be 100% focused on those women. So we get our stuff out, we pray together, and then we drive in. And it has been the most amazing thing to watch these women when we walk through those doors with pizza or Taco Bell or a homemade meal or whatever, where we walk in, and the girls used to say, "Why are you here?" We were awed, walking in. And then God's favor, and now over 2 years later, we have a group of 10 women sitting at the table waiting for us before we even get there. And they come swarming, and we give each other huge squeeze hugs. So we walk in, we set up the food, we say our highs, we're hugging, we're asking them about their week. And then we just sit there and we serve them. And we just say, "How are your kids this week? How's tonight going for you? How was XYZ?" Whatever we know about them. So it's taken the 2 years of slow and steady of building this trust with the women, where they're ready and they're happy to let their guard down to actually share stuff with them. Because Glenn, you especially, they're in character,
yeah.
Right? When they're at work. Yeah. And so we go in, and for them to give us their real name is a big deal. And for them to tell us how many kids they have is a really big deal. So we're careful not to ask, where are you from? Where do you live? Because that is none of our business until they want to share that with us. So, and then we're just like, we're girlfriends at a coffee house talking back and forth, being careful to ask, not too personal questions.
Mm-hmm.
And so they're like now at the point where a girl just graduated from college, and then she invited me and another girl off the team to drive up to Clarksville and go to her graduation party. Like, we're at this point with the women where they're wanting us to be a part of their life, and that's super exciting. And so Kevin knows this intimately. We just opened the doors to our resource center, and it blows my mind how God knew that these women were going to be ready for this right now. So they are craving more relationships with us, craving more resources. Like 90% of them don't want to be there, and they don't know how to leave.
Yeah.
They're stuck. And so to give them a safe haven where they can come to and hang out with us and put their feet up and let their guard down and exhale for the first time ever and trust us and just tell them, or help them see what they're good at. What are your dreams? If you want to be here, what are some steps that we can help you with to get here? Because they're worthy of their dreams. They're worthy of a fantastic life, a life outside of where they're at. And they want that, but they have no idea how to get there.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really an honor to walk next to them and just kind of be an eye opener for them, that you can dream like that.
Yeah.
And that can be tangible.
Yeah.
Let's do this so you can do that. It's exciting.
Yeah. Let's talk about that just a moment. The number you said was about 90% don't want to be there. I've heard you say 87 before, but a very, very large percentage.
Mm-hmm.
Why would these girls feel stuck in doing something that they want out of?
It's the money, honestly. There's trauma, and there's the lies of Satan, and there's so many things that cause them to step through those doors for the first time. And when I was training in Reno, there was a book out at the time. It's not in print anymore, but it talked about how, and I don't even remember the name of it, but it talked about how the clubs hook these women so they don't want to leave. So their first night, they are put up on stage, they make thousands of dollars, and this light bulb goes off in their head like, oh my gosh, this is fantastic. Like, I could have this all the time. And then it slows down and they make less and less and less. And then they're looking at themselves thinking, okay, maybe I need to do more. Maybe I need to change my appearance. Maybe I'm not pretty enough. All these different things to strive to get back to where they were that first night, and they hardly ever get back there. Can they make good money? Yeah, but it's few and far between. And it's that almost like a gambling addiction, that maybe tonight's my night, that a guy will come in and I'm going to make $1,000, or 2,000 or whatever. So it's that gambling, that addiction, that draw that keeps them coming back every night. If you don't think you're good enough to do anything else, and nobody has told you that you're worthy enough to do anything else, or you've tried and things have failed, and you keep coming back to this, it's scary to go from that to try to step out and try something new, because who wants to fail?
You said something earlier that when you guys first started going there, they didn't know what to think. What a lot of people don't realize is the people in this industry, they're not in a part of relationships where you're giving them something, and then but at the same time, you're not expecting them to give you something back in return. Like, every relationship they're in is
transactional.
You're giving me something, so now I've got to return the favor, so to speak. And so they're just not used to that type of love and relationship, and so it's foreign to them, and they don't know what to think about it. And then you certainly don't. Back to the questions you were saying you don't ask. I was sitting there thinking, yeah, because the first thing they think is, this is a cop. This is somebody trying to catch me or bust me or figure something out. That was one of the hardest things for me, was turning that old cop mindset off when I would go into places like that, because
I'm sure.
Yeah, because I'm just inquisitive by nature anyway, but then just to kind of start drilling with a bunch of questions, it's almost like, man, I'm just here chilling. Just I'll let you initiate the conversation,
Yeah.
But it does take a while to build that trust.
Yeah, that's true. And with the customers, even, they don't know if a customer, like if they say they live in XYZ, they don't know if that customer is going to try to track them down or follow them home, and we don't want to, I don't want to ask the same questions that a customer is going to ask them. I want to be completely different. I want my posture and my attitude and my care for them to be 100% different than what they get and what they have to put up with almost and be on for, everybody who comes in and talks to them.
Yeah. The other thing too that I never thought of until I met you and had these discussions was being there can actually feed them going into deeper and deeper things. So if they're not making enough money, by dancing, then the temptation is, they can make more money by meeting guys at places after hours. And so theoretically that could just become kind of their marketing tool for other jobs, which puts them in dangerous situations and just takes them deeper down the rabbit hole, right?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. And it's hard to, within the environment here in Nashville, it's hard to narrow down what those percentages are because no one wants to admit that, that that's what's happening. But that's for most, not most, a good number of them, that is what's happening, and they feel better about themselves if they're able to say, well, I don't do that. So-and-so does that, but I don't do that. There's that morality, that they're trying to figure out where they stand almost in that. And so just meeting them right where they're at, I don't care what's happening. I'm going to walk with you and I'm going to be here and I'm going to love you. It's just my favorite thing to do.
Yeah. Tami, what is your, what is the response that you've gotten from the church or even friends of yours that are believers? Is the church as a whole, are they kind of, we're going to kind of keep this type of ministry at arm's length, like we care about it, we love it, but it scares us to death. We don't know how to deal with it. Like, has that been your experience?
Yeah, for sure. It's totally scary. Like when I was part of Scarlet Hope in Reno, I think I joined them when they were in year 4, and I don't think they had any church partnerships yet. And that's 4 years in, and then here, even in Nevada, I would send out emails or calls or whatever to different churches and I wouldn't get any response, or sorry, we're busy, like we have enough ministries right now, we're reach back out to us, in a couple months or whatever that is. And it wasn't until we started going to a new church and I had a meeting with our pastor here in Spring Hill and the missions director. And like from moment one, they were on board. And actually the missions director is going to go with me on Thursday into the clubs because she just wants to learn more. She wants to know what we do. She wants to see it so she knows how to better support us. I haven't had that yet. That's been amazing.
Yeah.
Most churches, from arm's distance. Do you need food? Sure, we'll help you. But as far as like being able to come in and talk about the ministry to people, I haven't had that happen yet. So it's not taboo, but it's like on that line of, there's kids around, how much do you share? How much do you talk about? So it's been really interesting. I didn't think it would be so hard to reach churches with what we're doing as it has been. That's been a huge surprise to me.
Yeah, I think it's just one of those topics, like you said, that's kind of a, hey, there's kids in here kind of things. But then also from a mission standpoint, I feel like I've heard it said to me, oh, we can't do that because it's too dirty over there. Or somebody from the church down the street might see us in there and get the wrong idea, or that's kind of been some of my experience from the church.
Yeah, for sure. My favorite thing to do is to tell people that I'm tired on Fridays because I was out at the strip clubs Thursday night, because it's a shocker and it gets the conversation going. Jesus would be there, right? He would be taking off his shoes and sitting down and relaxing, whatever that would look like. He'd be the first one there, loving these people. It doesn't matter what the scenario is. These are people who don't know the Lord.
Yeah.
So we need to love them and go to them.
Yeah, that's so good. So just to defend my soccer mom statement, like how that hit me was just listening to you tell your story where you did go to a Christian school or homeschool.
Christian school, like a private school.
Christian school.
Yeah.
and you went to a private college, and you know, that's kind of what you first presented to me, which kind of made that stick with me. But there had to be like a point where, like, that was you were one of the ones that didn't really know how to respond to someone that would have come in and said, I go to strip clubs for a ministry, right? So what was the process that you had to go through to overcome your prejudice against
I
that?
think God called me. I think that is the most basic. So I was sitting in church in Reno, and the director in Reno had stood up. We went to the same church. I didn't know her yet. And she started talking about the ministry. And this is the first time in my life, apart from me knowing, like, I looked at my husband, my hunky husband back 25 years ago, and said, I'm going to marry him. Like, the first time I saw him. Apart from that, I haven't had any leading like this where it was as if God said, I want you to do this. That scared the crap out of me. And I leaned over to Dustin in church and I said, I think I need to do this, hoping that he would say no. And he said, yeah, I think you do.
Can you paint a picture or verbalize what that means? Like, you just knew what did that mean to you? Was it like just an internal intuition, or?
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it wasn't anything audible. It just was, I had this feeling, and I'd never had anything like it. So it was, I knew it was from the Lord. I knew it was a push. I knew it was, I had to do it. So I just signed up to serve. I read everything about Scarlet Hope on their website, which was very small at the time. I ordered a book that one of the women who Scarlet Hope in Louisville had reached, and she had gotten saved. She was like 60 and had been trafficked her whole life, late 50s, something like that, trafficked her whole life. No one had ever told her that she did not have to be in the club. And Scarlet Hope, Rochelle, the founder, was the first person to say, you don't have to be here. And that blew her mind. And so she got saved. She started doing Bible studies for the women who came through Scarlet Hope. It's an amazing story. So I read that book in like 2 days and just started serving. Like, I had to do it. I didn't know why I had to do it, but I knew I had to. And so then that was a burning question, like, God, why? I have nothing to give these women. I have no, like, my testimony is very clean, very, saved at 5 and love the Lord and just all these things, nothing that would help me relate to those women. And so I felt insecure going in, knowing that I had nothing to give, except I had this really deep love for them. And I wanted to be with them wherever they were, whatever they looked like. And so I started praying, though, for God to show me why he called me. He could have used anybody, but why me? And so it was about a year later, and we were sitting back in the dressing room at one of the clubs, and my partner and I were sitting there. And when you get the girls off of them being on, when they're backstage, when they're, in their dressing rooms, there's a lot of kind of, at least in Reno, there was a lot of shock and awe. They wanted to shock us. They wanted to impress us. They wanted to get a reaction from us. So they were talking to us about how guys treated them, and they were trying to give us lap dances. So we knew how to do those to our husbands, and telling us all these things to do for them. And then one of them said, do you know your husband's like GPS? Do you know the passwords to his phone, computer? Do you know where he is at all times? Do you read his emails? All of that. And we got to share the gospel and tell her why we could trust our husbands and the beauty of marriage and a Christian marriage, and when the Lord is everything. And in broken words, just trying our best to just explain it to her, she looked at me and she said, well, I know plenty of guys that say they love God, and yet they abuse me, cheat on me, lie to me all the time. And it was in that moment that I felt like God saying, that's your why. You get to show them that they're worthy of healthy relationships. It's possible. And that I get to show them that this is real life and that they can have it. So that was my why. And my husband and I this year will celebrate 23 years, and we've had a bunch of, life's been rough in our marriage, but our marriage has always been strong and level. And so I am thrilled that like women get to come into our home and they get to watch my husband respect me and watch how we interact with each other. If we're irritated, they see how we resolve that. It's not anger and fights and storming out the door, or anything. It's real life, and so that is a huge thing where this ministry has now become our family's ministry. My kids are going to play with their kids. They're going to come over, they're going to hang out, they're going to take a nap on my couch, they're going to watch movies with my family. They're their family. And that has been the coolest thing to do, and to teach my kids to love people no matter what their background is, no matter what they do. They're worthy of knowing their worth before the Lord.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't care about anything else. God will do the rest. I just have to be faithful with what's in front of me.
If I was to describe the feeling, Kevin, the call, it's almost like you just get this overwhelming flame or passion. And it's like, I'll do anything. Like, I'll give up anything. I'll sell all my stuff. It's like, there's no second thoughts about it. Like, it's just instant. Okay, let's do it. Whatever it takes. There's something that you just said there, Tami, that resonates with me. You're involving your entire family in this ministry. And again, you've got other people on the outside looking in going, oh man, she's having those women around her children, exposing them to this and that. And to me, that's just the backwards perception of what you're trying to do. It's no, like, I want my children to know that they can love these people and not judge these people. I just think that's awesome, because I found myself in the same shoes, having my children around. But Kevin and I talked about this before. My two oldest children are grown now. They both, their occupations are occupations where they're in service to other people. Is that because I exposed them to, different things as they were growing up? I don't know. But I know one thing, they saw Dad do it. They saw Dad's passion to live a life of service to other people. I can't tell you how many piano recitals that, we missed, and birthdays and this and the other because of out doing rescues. But, man, looking back, it's all worth it, because I see where they are today, and so there's that kingdom value that they got as a child, where maybe Dad didn't make every sporting event, but now there's this eternal value that's attached to them as adults. And that makes it so much better, because I used to beat myself up over that, like missing all this stuff. And
I'm sure
I was never around my kids as much as I should have been. But looking back at it now and seeing where they are, it's like, okay, I get it. It was worth it. Have you just had any people, Tami, that maybe you were just really close with, really good friends, that when you started doing this, that just tried to talk you out of it or give you an ultimatum or anything like that?
I haven't had anybody try to talk me out of it. No, but they probably wouldn't do it themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody's really quick to want to give food or water or, what the tangible stuff.
Yeah.
But to go in, it's scary. And I've had friends say, well, when do you tell them that what they're doing is wrong? I don't. I'm just going to walk with them, love them. I'm going to share Christ with them. And then that's Christ changing their hearts.
Mm-hmm.
We're not there to get them out of the ministry or out of the industry. We're not there to change their minds. We're just going to walk alongside them, because they have to make those choices. These women have to make those choices themselves if they're going to be successful in anything. It's all those baby steps that they take that empowers them to be able to go further. That's been the big question probably from people is, well, what's it like? And really?
Yeah.
You're doing that? Like my mom says all the time, like, I can't believe you're doing this. I love it, but I can't believe it, And then the practicality, like, when do you tell them X, Y, Z?
Yeah. Yeah. And what's silly about that is these women know. I mean, they may not necessarily recognize that they're sinning, or they rationalize that it's somewhat culturally acceptable. In the trafficking world, it's like, I don't know of any survivor that we ever rescued that said, yeah, I just woke up one day and said, I'm going to go sell my body. Like
Yeah.
something put them in a situation where that was their only choice, or what they thought was their only choice.
Yeah. And they don't want their daughters to do it.
Exactly.
Right? I do that all the time. Like, I don't want my daughter working here.
Yeah, of course they know. They'd much rather, I'm sure they would much rather, be doctors or dentists or anything other than dance, for men in a club. The state law for trafficking in Tennessee uses the word force, but it doesn't really define force. And so, I used to tell people, a lot of people think that force is, some kind of threat of physical harm. Like I'm pointing the gun at you, or I'm threatening to beat you up if you don't do X, Y, Z. But
Well, that's like what every movie portrays.
exactly.
Right?
Right.
It's an action. It's a firm action.
Yeah.
And
But
that's not
forces,
the
it can be anything, economic or addictions. Or we rescued one survivor that had been, when she was a teenager, 12, 14, something like that. Her mom had sold her into trafficking for drugs. Well, here she is, 28, 14 years later, when we rescued her, and she just didn't know, because that's all she had known from age 14 to 28. And there's others that I had to feed my kids. I had to buy diapers. I had to buy formula. I had to, put a roof over their head. And this is the only way I could make money, for whatever reason. And then the court system, gosh, I remember we did a sting one night and rescued a girl from Memphis that had drove to Jackson. She chose not to go into the program. 2 weeks later, we got her again. And I can't remember what her name was, but I sat down with her that second time. And I said, what are you doing? You just did this 2 weeks ago. We just got you 2 weeks ago. She said, Buckley, I had to. In 2 weeks, I had to come up with the court costs and the fines for the last time you got me. And this is the only way I know to make money. And so that was kind of a aha moment when we realized that, and we just got this circle that just keeps going around and round and round, and we've got to figure out how to break that cycle.
For sure, yeah. In the clubs, the busiest nights are toward like that last week of the month, because rent is due on the 1st. And even if they had a big score, they think they'll get, a lot of them think that the money will just come in again. So the money is spent on other things, not being saved for rent or whatever. So we want to come alongside them and give them basic budgeting tools where they can actually be the boss of their money and not have the money be the boss of them. And so that in and of itself could be life-changing and freeing for them. If they don't have to go in and work because they saved their money, like that could be generationally life-changing at that basic level.
Or not having to, like Kevin said, not having to go supplement my income with clients outside of the club because I've financially planned for the month.
Earlier, I was just asking how your perspective on these girls, like what's your biggest paradigm shift for these girls based on, what you would have believed before, thought about them versus now?
They are strong, smart women. I think media and movies portrays this lifestyle in a certain way, whatever that is. When I'm sitting talking to these women, I sometimes forget the environment that we're in. They are not much different from me. They are college educated, they are smart, they're moms, they are hard workers, they have discernment. That's been the biggest thing, is that I can forget where we're at, and I can forget about the trauma that has brought them there, or I can forget, like I can be talking to them and so locked in, and then I look up and, oh yeah, this is where we are. This is what brought them in. And that has shocked me a lot, where, you're used to, there's a majority of women who, they're on something to get through their shift. That they're struggling, that. But it's the women who are not on that just talk normal, that make it really difficult to remember where we're at and why they're there. It's just, and to just forget that they need the love and support of everyone else, even though it's not as clear to see.
Mm-hmm.
So that's been the biggest thing. And I've realized how defensive I feel about them. You know, if there's ever in a movie or someone makes a stripper joke or whatever, I'm like, no, we're not having that. You know, I want to, this is my family. These are my girls. I think I said this already. I am going to defend them. I don't care what it takes. And their lifestyle is for a lot of them very transient. They can come and go working as they please. You know, they're independent contractors. They pay to work there, which people don't know that. A lot of people don't know. So they can work a whole shift and tip out, pay the house, pay for Uber there and back, and leave with not very much. But it's on them. It's their schedule. They say when they're going to be there, when they're not going to be there. So that it causes some flakiness. It causes like, okay, I'm going to call you. We're going to meet up for coffee. Let's have lunch. Let's meet at so-and-so, you know, or such and such or whatever. And then an hour later they show up or cancel last minute, you know, that transient attitude. And a lot of people, or at least maybe the old me, would be like, forget that. They're not going to put the time in. I'm out. Those things make me love them more. Like, you cancel, fine. I'm going to be there the next week, you know, or whatever. So that surprised me too, is just I don't care what it is. I'm here and I'm not going anywhere and I'm walking with you.
Yeah, that's also an indicator that affirmation that you're actually called to this, like it's something the Lord's put in your heart. I've had similar situations like that where, you know, other people, even my wife or other people might not understand why I put up with certain things, but you know, it's just because that's who the Lord put before me.
Well, it shows too that hey, I love you. I'm not going anywhere. You know, you can ditch me and bail on me 15 times and I'm still here. You know, over time, that's one of those things that they just get more and more comfortable with. And that trust just gets deeper and deeper and deeper. How many people in their lives have just given up on them or disowned them even because of what they do? And so I think a lot of times it's a test to see if they can push you away.
Yeah, which is why you mentioned earlier why they like to shock you, right? Or initially like to shock you is to see if you're going to stick it out and how you're going to respond, which is actually not that much different from how Jesus treats us and relates to us, right? So, he just keeps coming back and keeps being there available for us when we keep screwing up and doing stupid stuff. So,
praise God.
Yeah, that's awesome. We talked about the fact that you just opened your resource center, which was awesome because I remember, and you knew this because you have so much support from your national network, but, you know, we talked about what would move the needle most for your ministry. It's so hard to really relate to them well in the middle of while they're working and all the energy that's going on in the club. So to be able to get them out of there and into another location was exactly what you needed, and the Lord was awesome to provide you with the resources that you were able to actually do that. What are you thinking? What's next with the resource center? Which actually, I shouldn't call it the resource center, right? And this is a cool story. It's one of my favorite stories. Is that you kind of got what you're calling it from the girls, right?
Yeah,
They kind of
So whenever I would bring up resource center to the women in the clubs, their like eyes would glaze over. You know, like nobody wants to feel like a project, you know?
Right.
And so I stopped calling it resource center, and you know, we're Scarlet Hope Nashville. So I just decided I'm just going to call it Scarlets. So we're calling it Scarlets. And I was explaining what I want it to be to one of the women. And she said, oh, kind of like a safe haven. I'm all, yes, a safe haven. So this is our safe haven for women working in Nashville's adult entertainment industry. So it is when you walk in, like there's a registration area that the women would get signed in when they come. And then there's this, you know, relax area. And we have a couch, we have a coffee pot, we have trauma-informed care colors on the wall, and just almost looks like a living room. And so you walk in and I want the women to relax, and we're going to have workshops for them where they can come on the same time and date every week. So Tuesdays from 2 to 4, our doors are going to be open. We're going to do some kind of workshop. It's going to be anywhere from, like, our first one next week is going to be something therapeutic, something neutral, something where they can come and they know they're not going to get preached at or whatever. And so we're going to do like hand knitting, where we're going to have pizza, we're going to turn on a chick flick, we're just going to hang out and have community. And one of the girls from the clubs is actually going to teach us how to hand knit. Wow. So she's super excited about that. So we're going to just sit there and relax and hand knit, and they're going to be able to go home and finish their blanket at home. And who doesn't love a cozy blanket?
Yeah.
So to provide that, and to provide them with something small that they can do when they can go home, and it could be super therapeutic. So we're going to start with that, and then we're going to do everything from things like that, even like how to decorate a cake, how to go grocery shopping and to stay in budget, how to do a budget. If you're struggling with anxiety, or how to sleep better, we're going to talk about those things. Wow. We're going to talk about how to do a resume. What are your skills? If you could do anything, what does that look like? And let's walk you through how to get there. And then even basic skills like, oh my gosh, rent is due in a couple weeks. Okay, well, let's talk through how you can get that money, instead of extreme stuff. So we just have a huge long list of things that we want to empower the women with, so they feel strong enough and confident enough in themselves to take that next step to hopefully get out of the clubs. That's our goal, is for them to know Jesus and to want a different life, to change their life generationally and eternally. But God does that. We just are going to be faithful and love them and invite them in. And what's so exciting about the timing of this is it's going to be our hub. Yeah. Like, our team would meet in a Cracker Barrel parking lot to pray and do our highs and lows. And now we have a spot where we can train all of our volunteers. We can have board meetings there. We can, whatever you guys need to, film your podcast or whatever, we got a room for you. Yeah. We want it to be used for the Lord and be safe for the women whenever they want to come. So we'll do counseling and stuff like that too. So it's really exciting. I think the other sites within our network, I don't think they've had a resource center open as quickly as God provided one for us. And I know that's just the Lord. It's not anything that I did. So that blessed the socks off me. It's totally surprised me. And so I know that God is in it and leading the ministry where he wants it to be.
Tami, a lot of people don't realize that sometimes, and I'm definitely pro scripture. Don't everybody listening, don't hear me wrong. But sometimes the worst thing you can do, especially in this industry, is start beating these girls to death with scripture. One of my favorite quotes is by St. Francis: share Jesus with others, and if you have to, use words. Man, that just applies so precise to this industry. It really does.
Yeah, we have to be very careful with what we say and don't say, because especially when we go into the clubs, we're going into their world. So we're not there to distract them, to interrupt them. If there had been things said from other groups that used to go in, and the girls are like, who in the world are you? You're in my house. You need to respect me. Don't be telling me I have to do X, Y, Z, or that Jesus still loves me because I work here. We're not that way. And so I'm very proud the way that we go in and how God's allowing us to slowly build that safety and that trust. It's so important. You're right.
Tami, how can I've got your website down here on the screen, scarlethope.org. What are some ways that people can get involved with Scarlet Hope, whether it's donating financially or volunteering? What are some current needs that you guys have, and ways that people listening can get plugged in if they want?
Yeah, the biggest need is I need women, soldiers on the ground who are willing to go into the clubs with me. If you put a Nashville in front of scarlethope.org, nashville.scarlethope.org, that would take us to our own personal one off of that network. And there people can donate money. There's a how to volunteer link. There's a how to sign up to get to be on our weekly email list. And there we send out ministry updates and prayer requests and all that. So apart from just knowing about us and maybe wanting to volunteer with us, also helping spread the word. Like if you know some, I don't care what state they live in, tell people about us, because you never know who knows who. And so I think just that word of mouth, getting it out there, what we're doing. I have a great food team. I have an incredible board. But I think financial partnership and even business partnerships, because I would love to partner with businesses where they want to employ the women that we're working with. Apart from those things, going into the clubs with us is the biggest thing. That way we can reach everywhere that we want to reach. Yeah, people on the ground to go with us.
You are definitely one of the inspirations for us doing this podcast.
Oh, thanks.
I remember the first time I met you, and I always say this about several of the nonprofits we work with, but you just walk in the room kind of unassumingly, and you look kind and gentle and sweet, and then you start talking about the ministry and this passion just comes out. It's so fun to watch you guys. And just I remember specifically you were so inspirational to me because I definitely would not feel comfortable, obviously, in a strip club, but in anything like that, it would be way out of my comfort zone. And if God asked me to do it, I would have to wrestle with whether or not to say yes. You just like said yes, you just took it on and said yes, way out of your comfort zone. And thank you for that. There's people that'll be in eternity because of you saying yes. And that means a ton. And, it inspired Glenn and I to just share these stories so that it'll inspire others beyond us to say yes when God asks them to do something. So any of you guys out there listening, if you sense God calling you to do something, he will provide. He'll give you everything you need. So say yes. Trust me. It'll be difficult. It'll be sometimes excruciating, and it'll be worth it. So thank you so much for what you do, Tami.
Thank you.
So excited for you. And by the way, I went to she had 2 ribbon cuttings for the new facility, one for general public and one for the girls. And at both of those, one of the girls made the cake that was at the ribbon cutting. So that was so cool.
Exciting.
Awesome. Well, Tami, thanks so much for being on the show with us tonight. All you guys listening, remember, like and share the video. Obviously, the more people that can hear about what Tami is doing with Scarlet Hope, the better. Make sure you check out their website, nashville.scarlethope.org. Go on there and check them out, see how you can get plugged in. Thanks for being with us, Tami.
Oh, thank you. This was fun.
All right. See you guys.
Hey guys, thanks for listening to the podcast. If you want to do us a favor, leave us a review on your favorite podcast platform. Also, join our group on Facebook. Thanks again for listening, and we'll see you next time on The Kingdom Effect.